Welcome back. We've had just over an hour of racing in Adelaide, stage 6 of the Tour Down Under. The final day of racing. We will have a champion by the end of today's action. 10 laps out of 18 around the city so far. We've got some interesting stats for you from today. Roger Hammond watching in the studio with us. And look at that speed. Is that more or less as you expected?
It certainly should be by the end of the race. They start off, professional races start off quite slowly and gradually build up. And by the end, I would expect them to see in the higher range between 44 and 48k an hour. And then the sprint finish, these guys on a flat finish like this will hit speeds of nearly 70k an hour.
And the power's interesting as well. How do these numbers compare to a recreational cyclist even?
Well, I would say their average power for this 2-hour race will probably be somewhere near the peak power for about 5 seconds for a recreational cyclist. It's an interesting one. You try and go into the gym and try and go at peak power and see whether you can get over 1,000 watts. These guys are doing it after the end of a stage. Talking
of the gym, for those of you who like a bit of spinning at the gym, Roger, these numbers are a realistic target for everyone?
Well, cadence is a great one because these recreational cyclists can do that. Just take the resistance off because 90 to 100 RPM is the most efficient way to pedal. That's the most efficient cadence, one to aim for.
Good tip. Right, we're on to lap 11. Let's get back to commentary.
Evans, we're going to be treated to a grand finale for sure.
We will, and maybe it's going to go to the big sprinter from Germany, Andre Greipel, because he's had a quick word with the team. Lotto Belisel sent them to the front, also Giant Shimano. Amazing to think that the two best sprinters in this race, both from Germany, one a youngster on the way up, 4 stage victories in the Tour Kittel. But the man with the most experience, Andre Greipel, will be looking for the win. He loves to race here in Australia.
These are the 3 riders piling on the pressure. And see if we can show you the relationship. There's the gap, 1:39. They've started to push it out again here by 16 seconds, these 3 riders. Maxime Belkov setting the pace. Sorry, Will Clark on the front, Belkov on the back at the moment. There's the peloton.
But you can see the peloton is stretching out into a long line. That's an indication, the first indication that the pressure is starting to be applied at the front end of the peloton. And mainly it's the teams of the sprinters, but they won't want to chase full on for the moment. This peloton's average speed is picking up to be a little faster than that of the main group. It's 43.2 kilometers an hour. So they're about 1 kilometer an hour faster than the leading group of 3 riders. But again, I think this is the status quo. They're just matching the 3-man breakaway, waiting for the time when they want to pull them back in. Having said that, Phil, the leaders have just polished off a very rapid lap number 10.
They've increased again.
At 44 kilometers an hour.
They're heading down Flinders Street at the moment. The main field have just come off Duquetteville Terrace and into Rundle Road. If they go straight on, but they won't, because Rundle Road leads into the Rundle Mall, which is a great shopping, restaurant and coffee area. It's where we won the very first race here back in 1999. They had the team presentation before the race started there in Rundle Mall. Come on, ladies and gentlemen. They're still well clear, nice and safely. Does it, 3 riders coming through. Will Clark keeping the pressure on here. Gap at 1:39 as they swing on to the back of the circuit, which is Bartels Road down the bottom end by the King William Street, which they'll turn left into, and then past the Tour Village again.
Yeah, they're all working well together. They realize that to break the stranglehold of the sprinters, they need to collaborate. There's no point in their breakaway of 3 riders like this having somebody as a passenger. First of all, psychologically, it's not good for the other guys in the breakaway. It feels sometimes if you're actually dragging an anchor along behind you. And then you've got to throw out the old sandbags and get on with the job at hand.
Just round the back doubles here outside the Tour Village as they go back into Flinders Street. Left turn coming up now. Julian Berard had to cross the gap alone to catch up with the 3 leaders. Just as he arrived, he saw Angelo Tulik crash out, but he strengthened the breakaway anyway. Lap 11 here. Oh, only ever been with Team AG2R since he turned pro in 2010. Now we're going along Flinders Street up towards the finish. The peloton are going down the other side of Flinders Street as they make their right turn into Wyatt Street to go around the loop around the village.
This is the point where the three-man breakaway can look across onto the other side of the circuit and ascertain whether or not they're holding onto their advantage or whether they're actually starting to lose it. And the clock is telling us that now it's starting to crumble, the lead of the breakaway group, because we've got the teams of the sprinters now getting themselves organized. They won't chase full on currently. They'll just wait for a little while to get themselves organized. They would probably like to pull back that three-man breakaway with at least a couple of laps to go, so they can then get themselves organized to set up the sprint for their sprinters.
It is a very, very fast finish. The road does dip down as they start to race to the finish. Now, be safe, be seen. The boys can't be missed today. They race over to the right-hand side of the road here, round the back.
We talked a lot, Phil, about the big sprinters from Germany, but what about the Australian sprinter Caleb Ewan, who'll be hiding in that pack somewhere?
It was down there in the Tour Village to the left-hand side where we had the team presentation on a beautiful evening. The day before the race got underway with the People's Choice Classic. It was a really lovely night too, and the riders were in good humour and enjoying the crowd. Big crowd too, wasn't it, watching it, Paul? There was quite a few thousand people there.
Huge crowd and a great atmosphere right in the heart of Adelaide. And yes, Victoria Square, I think, is going to be quite a hub over the next couple of years. It really has been made a very pleasant place to come for team presentations for bike races, or maybe even some musical evenings.
Yeah, well, the tramway used to terminate in Victoria Square, coming up from Glenelg, which is a beautiful seaside resort. The race has been there in the past. Bell this time, sprint next lap for these three. They go out onto lap number 12. The gap is still at 1:35. Time to take on food. Just to finish the tram story, the tram now goes straight through into the northern suburbs of Adelaide. So it's all been developing slowly around this race, which has been here now since 1999. 72 minutes in the saddle for these boys, and they've led for most of the way today. 52.6 kilometers so far covered. That leaves 32.9 to go. Just over 20 miles.
Yes, that's a good distance now. These guys will have worked it out quite rapidly. That shouldn't take them very much more than 40 minutes, but they know that in the group behind, there's a lot of the big sprinters are looking to try and pounce on their three-man breakaway, because the sprinters will be wanting to get themselves organized and have a crack at a stage victory in the Santos Tour Down Under, because this has certainly not been a Santos Tour Down Under for the sprinters this year. There's been so many battles of the men who have been looking to win this bike race overall. This is Maxime Velkov sitting on the front as we look down there. There's Marcel Kittel wearing number 21.
Well, we've heard from Andre Greipel and what he expects to do today. The man he's going to have to take on, I think, will be Marcel Kittel. Let's hear what he's got to say when he spoke to Robin McEwen about this finish.
Marcel, you're the big favourite for this stage. Looks like it's going to be a sprint. What are your thoughts on the circuit and taking on this sprint? You know, the final run in, that little dip downhill and the headwind. How are you going to tackle things?
Yeah, I've seen it now. I did one lap on the course and I think I got a good feeling for it and I actually like it. The final is tricky, it's special with that yeah, little downhill just before the line. It's a high-speed sprint, that's for sure, and I'm happy because it's something that suits me, but you need a really good timing together with the team to come around those last corners and be on the right moment in the front.
And there he is. He carries number 21, 4 times a stage win in the Tour de France. Some of them very rough sprints he got the better of in the Tour. So this race, I would think, will suit him today, but he's going to have to take on Andre Greipel for sure.
Just noticing Andre Greipel going through there, number 31 in his white jersey, a German national champion, a very proud wearer of that title. In fact, the first time, amazing to think this man has been so successful as a professional bike rider. Last year was the first time that he'd actually won that time. There's Adam Hansen sitting behind him in the white jersey with the green spots. He will be the Skoda King of the Mountains winner at the end of the day, as long as he stays upright and finishes the stage.
Yes, he won his title yesterday. It was on a count back in the end because Axel Domont equaled him on points, but yes, as Paul says, you have to finish the race to claim your prize. So if anything happened to him today and he didn't finish, then he would not be the winner of the King of the Mountains. But that competition ended yesterday, the Skoda Championship. A good victory for the Queenslander too. These are the three leaders though, Belkoff, Clark and Berard, doing all the pacemaking. Latest gap is 1:35, so they're not being caught back at all here out on lap 12. The second set of bonuses are about to go away to these three riders. They don't want them. Gerrans is pleased they're in the lead because they've taken the seconds away from Simon Gerrans, from Cadel Evans, Richie Porte and Diego Ulissi. That's the most important thing.
I would think it's a serious big advantage now moving across to Simon Gerrans, because these were the intermediate sprint points where there was a slight chance that Cadel Evans had of maybe pulling one over on Simon Gerrans and grabbing a second or a 2-second time bonus out on the course. But once that has gone away, I don't really see Simon Gerrans or even Cadel Evans vying for the top three finishes on the stage, because it's going to be a big showdown, I think, for the big sprinters.
That's what we would anticipate. Berard riding extremely well through the chicanes here, around the back of the village again. That was where the crash was on the opening lap. Lap 12, lap 18. 12 of 18. Will Clark did well to rejoin this race after his flat tyre. There's the peloton just gone down the other side there, down Wyatt Street.
Still pretty much the same as it was on the previous lap. So currently the peloton have got them just locked in at that same time gap. As we can start to see now, the main field there is starting to wind up a bit, and it's Orica Greenedge feeling a bit more confident now that the intermediate sprint points at the end of lap 6 and lap 12 have been taken away by that three-man leading group. Currently, advantage Simon Gerrans, who starts the day now with probably, as far as he's concerned, a very decent buffer of 1 second.
Gone well today, almost as planned for Orica Greenedge. They've just looked after the leader. They've got manoeuvred three riders away that don't matter to the destination of that ochre jersey. They've kept a close eye on Cadel Evans, so far on Diego Ulissi, the Italian on Lampre, and Richie Porte, the Sky Rider from Tasmania. These three riders doing those boys a favour. Well, not doing Simon Gerrans a favour. There are Belkoff and Clark. It is actually in the order of Belkoff, Clark and Berard as we look at them here. They're heading up to the sprint. Now that's the approach to the line that the big sprinters will see when we get to lap 18 end. Slightly downhill. And I'm quite sure they'll have put the highest gears on the bike overnight. They'll have instructed the mechanics they need a big kick as they come down, and then it levels up just before the line.
Well, as you heard Marcel Kittel say just a little earlier, Phil, it's going to be a high-speed sprint, and it's one that you really do have to get spot on, because just looking at the finishing line, it actually comes down very, very quickly, kicks up a fraction, but not enough to slow the riders down on their charge to the line. But it could well be that they'll be looking, maybe some of the top sprinters will have put on a slightly bigger outside chainring to have the largest possible development, because I would think this sprint today could be approaching 70 to 72 kilometers an hour if they're fully launched at the finishing line today.
Well, Belkoff, Berard, Clark, the order of the sprint really doesn't matter. 3 seconds, 2 seconds and 1 second in the Adam Internet sprint competition. But these boys were looking for minutes to win this race, so what they've done is take those bonuses off Cadel Evans, Richie Porte and Diego Ulissi. So now the only bonuses left in this race are 10.64 for the first three riders over the finishing line at the end. When they come down there, the big sprinters will also want to be involved in the battle to take the stage. So the chase has got to happen soon now, as they've gone out onto lap number 40. One hour 19 minutes covered. Belkoff, winner of the stage of the Giro d'Italia, now really settled into the heat of the day here in Adelaide. It'd be a bit colder where he comes from, in Russia. as he pile drives the riders through. Same for Berard. Will Clark's used to all this weather here. He's enjoying himself there.
Right, that's a minute and 20 seconds.
58.3 kilometres to done so far. That means 27 to go to the finish, Paul.
Very good, excellent. That's about 16 miles to go to the finish, and it's now really starting to get applied. The screws at the front, it's the red and white jerseys, Lotto Belisol, followed by the black and white jerseys of Giant Shimano. Never very far away is the team of Orica Green Edge, and riding now, starting to assume the role of a winner of the Santos Tour Down Under, is Simon Gerrans, sitting up there in 7th to 8th position in his ochre jersey. And when you see the tail coming out of the back end of the peloton like that, that's an indicator that the pressure is starting to go up, and the average speed in this main field is accelerating, with Jens Voigt going around the corner there in about 3rd or 4th position. Can't hold a good man down, can you?
I just smiled to myself as you mentioned his name. He's moved up to the front there now. He's decided to lift this pace up. The gap is still 1:21. There's a lot of work to be done here if they're going to do anything about this. But visibly now, the pace has been lifted, and it's been lifted by the oldest man in the race. What are they going to do when he retires?
I think they'll just have to find out how to master the pain as he dishes it out himself. You can see him right behind him. It's Frank Schleck in 2nd position, who's had a fairly quiet ride here at the Santos Tour Down Under. But Jens Voigt has decided now it's a time to put an end to all of the excitement here this afternoon and the success of the breakaway. So he's whipping it up for his brand new team at Trek Factory Racing.
Well, they've done pretty well, these lap 13. They've survived a little bit longer than I anticipated here, and the gap has got to be reversed this time. Now we've seen Jens Voigt and the Trek Factory Racing Club team build it up now.
I suppose the reason for that, I'd forgotten all about the fact that Trek Factory Racing have got a pretty rapid sprinter themselves. Boy Van Poppel could be looking for the win today.
Here they go, out on the towards the end of the 13th lap now. With cuisine influences from all around the world, Adelaide is a hotspot for fine dining with fresh, produced, sourced locally. Much of it is brought here at the Adelaide Central Market, which started back in 1869, is now the largest undercover market in the Southern Hemisphere. It's a great place to take in the sights and sounds while soaking up the atmosphere. And they will even let you sample some of the gorgeous products before you take them home. And don't they look good? Not very far, in fact, about 50 metres from that marketplace is where we find the location today for the final stage of the Santos Tour Down Under. Be Safe, Be Seen, the 6th day of racing here as the riders move around the central business district of Adelaide. The leaders, though, just turned their back on the market. They're heading up towards the end of the lap. 60 kilometres covered, that's about 38 miles done. That leaves us 15 miles to go, 25 kilometres, and right on time, as all sprinters always are. I'm delighted to welcome Robbie McEwen in our commentary box now. Robbie, you've had a great week on the tour. People are telling me you're going to be a great commentator. How about that?
I'm very flattered to even be compared and sit in the same room with you guys, Phil and Paul, loving it.
Well, it's been a fabulous race, this one, hasn't it? And it's come down to this.
It has just been a fantastic race, and this is today really so far a bit of a warm-up for most of the field, but I think we're going to see some real fireworks in these last few laps as the field starts to get themselves in position on this new circuit. There are some unknowns for the riders. They're riding around, they know what it looks like, but the main peloton haven't hit any of these corners at full speed yet. That could cause some carnage later on.
Well, we've just seen this black and white jerseys of Team Trek Factory coming to the front. You know, we've talked since the start, we've talked about Orica Green Edge looking after Simon Gerrans, but we've talked about the big match, Marcel Kittel and Andre Greipel. But obviously, when you see a team like Trek Factory Racing come to the front and hammer down like this to pull back the break, they must be feeling their man, Boy Van Poppel, has got the victory. Can he rival the two big Germans?
he's got to try. If he's going to do anything, he's got to just try, get out there and take them on. Jens Voigt mentioned this morning they have a plan. You see Cadel Evans tucked in, no thought about bonus seconds today. He's resigned himself to finishing second in this race, albeit by just 1 second. So close, right next to the man himself, Simon Gerrans, both sitting pretty right at the front of the bunch. They've got to make sure they still don't get caught out in these final laps through all these corners. There's possible crashes. They're not home yet.
And that's the important thing. They know that they're never home till they cross that finishing line at the end of the 6 days of racing. First man through in yellow there, that's Rory Sutherland. He's the favourite on the Tinkoff-Saxoff squad, and he's had a very good race. He's right up there in the overall standings at the moment. He sits in 11th place.
Well, there's lots of pressure in this group to pull back the group of 3 to begin with. Jens Voigt, he really is an unbelievable performer. He's never scared of dishing out a little bit of pain. As the gap is still locked in at 1 minute and 35 seconds, I feel pretty confident they'll pull these 3 riders back. But, Robbie, it is interesting that it's a different finish for the guys. In the past, they've always known, fight into that corner, turn left, the finishing straight's in front of you. You've got to go around that corner in 2nd or 3rd position. This is a slightly downhill sprint, so the guys probably will have had to have a quick look at the gear ratios today. Maybe a slightly bigger gear for a fast Lance at the finish.
Well, I know some guys were talking about the possibility of mounting a 54 chainring, but when they got here and they saw the wind direction this morning also, the road does dip down from 300 to 200, flattens out briefly, and then starts to just very slightly rise up to the finish line. But the important thing is the wind is against the riders. It's not a strong breeze by any means, but when you're riding 75 kilometres an hour like they will come off that 300-metre mark, it really hits you in the face. It's going to be all about positioning and timing.
52 seconds the gap after 1 hour 26 minutes of racing. They've suddenly started to reduce this gap quite dramatically now, and it's been done by the oldest man in the race, Jens Voigt, in partner with his teammate Laurent Didier, is the other Trek factory rider on the front, driving that pace. But we're inside a minute now. They're going to start getting their tails up again, because on these straights they're going to spot each other. Here come the peloton. We've done 63 kilometres, that's 40 miles of the race, and it's a total distance of 53 miles. So we're getting down towards the finish now. 22 kilometres left.
Again, Jens Voigt powering up the front, which is actually, I think, good for Andre Greipel, because that rests his lead-out train. And this could be the decision for today's stage. A little problem here. And this is one of the riders from AG2 La Mondiale having a little bit of a mechanical assistance at the back there. Maybe going to be quite difficult for him to get back into his position in the race.
No, I'm just checking. No, it's Maxime Daniel.
So just coming back to what I was saying there, Robbie, about the lead-out trains toward the end. Today, that could be the most critical thing. Now, Andre Greipel has, for me, the most experienced lead-out squad. They made a mistake here maybe in the People's Choice Classic, and Andre had to go a little bit too far out from the finish. But a team like that, they don't make the same mistake twice normally.
No, they don't. They will have learned their lesson from that. But this, again, is another different finish, a little bit different conditions. Andre Greipel has fantastic condition in this race. His fitness is above all the other sprinters. And he's been working quite hard for the team as well. I wonder, has that maybe taken a little edge off his sprint for today? We saw him get over Wollonga Hill, work very hard for Adam Hansen. But and Marcel Kittel rode around there, taking it really pretty easy. We see Greipel, middle of the bunch, very relaxed. The red jersey next to him, Jürgen Rulands, his faithful lead-out man. And they want to get it just right today. But Kittel, Ferrari, Viviani, Caleb Ewan, so many sprinters that haven't had a chance to really do anything in this Tour Down Under yet. This is their day, and they're all going to give it absolutely everything they got.
Oh, I must say, Greipel lying off Marcel Kittel, but quite a long way there, but he's still got 3.5 laps to sort it out. Now, one man who's very proud of this race, and he's been the race director ever since it begun back in 1990, is Mike Turter. He won himself a gold medal in the Los Angeles Olympic Games in 1984. Well, before the start today, we did speak to Mike Turter about this new course.
Good roads again, but again, a little technical finish. We've got left into Hutt Street, then a right into Bartels. Good corners. We're taking out section of island to make the lines nicer for the riders, especially the last bend into the straight. But again, a long straight to the finish line. So again, teams coming down Flinders Street for the final time will have to be in formation way out, you know, maybe a lap out with because the circuit's 4.5k round. But again, the corners are nice and clear and clean, and they'll get around those corners no problem at all at high speed. and they'll set themselves up nicely for the sprint, which goes down and then actually jumps up a bit at the finish there. So again, timing's going to be critical.
Now, as a sprinter, Robbie, you heard Mike describe the course, but sprinters make note of every detail, don't they?
They do. The good sprinters, they don't just rely on pure speed and horsepower. The guys will be going around here, not just sitting relaxing in the bunch, but looking at the corners, looking at the best line, where there's a manhole cover they want to avoid. You don't want to puncture going into that last lap because you haven't been paying attention. These guys will be tipping into these 90-degree corners at upwards of 40, 45 kilometres an hour in the apex of the corner. The kind of dangerous thing about city centre circuits is from the volume of traffic, there is sometimes a bit of a sheen to the road that can make it really quite slippery. So, like I said before, they haven't been around here at high speed yet and got a really good feel for the corners, and that's where the mistakes can come and blow this race wide open in the last lap.
Well, that's the thing about professional racing, isn't it, Kurt? As we look at the peloton's average speed, thank you very much, Jens Voigt, just inside of 47 kilometres an hour as they go under the red kite. But just to finish that thought, Robbie, it's usually on the last lap of the race that the riders attain their maximum speed around these corners, and it's down to 40 seconds. And it's the first time they've really done these corners full on, and that's when the mistakes happen.
Exactly, and they're not going to know until they get there. If you go too slow, you're going to get past. You go too fast, you're going to be crunched up in the barriers, and your race will be all over.
So the peloton has now got their quarry in the gun sights now. The gap is down just 40 seconds, the spread across the field. Visibly going quicker now as the Santos Tour Down Under continues to head around the circuit. They're heading now into to Ketteville Terrace, and then they'll go out into Rundle Road. This is the peloton closing in rapidly. They've really put the pressure on. It's all been done by this big man, 42 years of age, Jens Voigt. He was an absolute star at the Legends dinner last night here in Adelaide, where some 1,400 people heard Jens entertain the crowd. We're going to miss him, Paul, but I've got a feeling he may be stopping cycling this year, but we're never going to stop talking about Jens Voigt.
I don't think he'll be too far away from the sport. Not only was he pretty impressive last night at the Legends dinner when his career was celebrated, he was pretty impressive on the stage yesterday because he was one of the members of the four-man breakaway that dominated the race for an awful long time. Now, Robbie, you raced with Jens for a long, long time. He really is a bit of a character.
Oh, he's a great character. He speaks very well. He can really get across and illustrate to people with words the sort of pain he can put himself through. And he's very famous for his acts on the bike, but also for that saying that now I think most cyclists know, shut up, legs. He just overcomes. He tells his body what it wants it to do. It struggles against him. He makes it do it anyway.
Well, if you get a chance just to get down to the starting area here, you just have a look, search out Jens Voigt's bike. It'll wear number 42 on it, and right down the top tube, the bike manufacturer has actually written that statement for him. Shut up, legs, and all he has to do is look down there. I tried that, Robbie, but it never worked for me.
Many have tried, many have failed, and that's what makes Jens Voigt what he is.
Now Lotto, the hand going up there, those are the boys in the red jersey. Cadel Evans' team also moving up to the front here because that's Ben Herman's on the front.
Yes, BMC Racing also now taking a very keen interest. Really don't think that Cadel Evans has got that chance to take the single second, but all it takes is something to happen on the run-in over the final kilometres, and there's a split in the main field, and a second has disappeared like that. After a week of attention, you can lose it in the blink of an eye. But I don't think Simon Gerrans is the kind of guy to make that kind of silly mistake.
Well, these are tense moments now, and Lotto deciding to shake out at the front of the race here because their man is Andre Greipel. The white jersey is now moved up into the 6th wheel here in the line. So I expect to see a black and white jersey not too far away because that will be Marcel Kittel. He wears 21, Greipel wears 31 if you catch sight of him. Cadel Evans' team working on the front with Ben Herman setting the pace. Looking down from the skies above the city of Adelaide here as the Santos Tour Down Under on stage 6, the final stage of this week-long race. Be safe and seen as we circuit here for 85.5 kilometers, 18 laps, and those laps are now counting down. The peloton are closing in rapidly on the breakaway.
They certainly are, and Andre Greipel in that white jersey with the German flag around the middle, very, very nervous, quite a long way out from the finish. He wants to make sure he gets around these corners nice and safely, but I just wonder if he may well be, after 69 kilometers covered, whether or not he's using up a lot of nervous energy too far out from the finish. Just 10 miles to go, 16 Ks.
Well, I think on a circuit like this, Paul, you can actually save a lot of energy by riding at the front of the bunch. You get to really cruise through the corners and ride your own speed without braking and having to really accelerate again. You'll see this bunch concertina as you look at the average speed of the peloton, 47 kilometres an hour. If you're coming to these corners and you really need to brake and then accelerate again, as the gap falls to 20 seconds, you really start to see the peloton has got to move on, and they want to take them back and then set these things up for their sprinters.
Round the Tour Village, where the boys have been spending the last 8 days either on the bikes or in the Tour Village or in the hotel right by the Hilton Hotel is where they stay. The peloton, as the riders swing around here, searching again for Flinders Street. The gap is now just at 20 seconds. This time they're going in for the kill.
That's just right, what Robbie was saying a few moments ago about riding in the first 10 or 15 places. You're actually riding around at a constant speed, a constant tempo, where the guys at the back, it's actually a lot more difficult. And I've always tried to explain to people how easy it is to ride at the front. It sounds like an oxymoron, but you get the elastic yo-yo effect at the back, don't you? You have to slow down more going into the corners and accelerate more. And at the end of the day, you do use an awful lot more energy just trying to hang on at the back of the pack.
As the peloton now has the breakaway completely in their sights, we did notice that the riders at the back of the bunch, they come out of those corners, they have to stand up and really lean on the pedals to re-accelerate, while the guy on the front stays in the saddle, stays riding the same tempo. So you save a lot of energy by being at the front. And once they start to go very fast in these last 2 laps, there'll be no possibility to move back to the front anymore.
Breakaway and peloton both on Flinders Street in the same straight. Time to catch up with our race update of stage 6, the gun being fired by South Australia's Minister for Sport and Tourism, as the race continued on a circuit of 4.75 kilometres. 3 riders going clear. Watch the boy in green as he misjudged the corner, and he got a nasty whack in the back too from the front wheel of Maxime Belkov, who got up and joined Will Clark out up front. Sadly, Angelo Turlik, we didn't see again. We don't know, in fact, if he's either in the race or retired. But nonetheless, 3 riders did get themselves together at the front.
I'll give 9 points out of 10 to Maxime Belkov for style there, because he didn't touch the ground. He managed to almost catapult over the top to stay in the race. Poor old Will Clark on the bell lap when he was coming through to the first sprint point at the end of lap 6. He had a flat tyre, so had to go across the line in 3rd place, which went to Berard, the 3-second time bonus. A little bit later on, though, the 2 riders in that breakaway, they waited for him because they wanted an extra pair of strong wheels.
Cadel Evans, a captive of the peloton, is 1 second deficit on number 11, the ochre jersey. Simon Gerrans looking like staying that way as we're now heading down towards the finish. 3 riders are still clear at this point in the race as we look at our race update, but it wasn't to be the case anymore, because now they are very, very close to the capture. Officially, it's 25 seconds. Looking at those pictures, it's less.
Well, once the main field start to get into the same straight, once they can see the lights on the back of the motorbike behind the breakaway group, they know they've done the job that they needed to do. They've closed down the gap to a reasonable amount, and they will wait now. They'll hover before they make that final onslaught to pull the 3 riders back into the fold, because what it actually does, it calms the nerves at the front end of the main field, although it hasn't calmed these nerves at all, because this is another little move coming from Will Clark straight out of the handbook. Before you get caught, come out of the front.
The pack all massing here, almost trying to hold off ending the escape by those 3 riders, because they know once they do catch up, others will try to break away. Simon Gerrans being protected by his team on the left. The white jersey is Greipel. The boys in red around him are his teammates looking to take him to the line. He's in a perfect position, Just having a look there, Robert, to see if I could find where Marcel Kittel was, didn't you?
I'll tell you what I did see was Cadel Evans. He's on the right-hand side of the screen in second position behind his BMC teammate. Now, these guys, Gerrans and Evans, they're acutely aware of the rules of racing and what can happen in this final circuit. If there is a crash in the final 3 kilometres and the bunch is intact, everyone will be given the same time. That's the rules of cycling, as we've lost one of the breakaway riders. But what can also happen is if there's a split due to a crash, okay, they all get same time. If there's a split, there's no crash, those time differences stand. They need to ride right at the front amongst the sprinters, because these 90-degree corners, lefts and rights, as we come towards the finish, I think it really will split the field.
Well, Berard's been dropped. He probably saw the group coming and he's dropped back to them. Yes, vigilance is the big thing, but I'm just wondering, is Cadel going to give this one last shot and try and steal the show? There is Julien Berard. He's dropping back to the peloton. That leaves 2 up front, the 2 boys in red on different teams, Clark and Belkoff.
Well, Cadel has never been the kind of guy to give up. If the opportunity at all presents itself on the run-in towards a finish, he will grab it and have a go. There you can see Berard. He's now back in the main field, leaves just 2 riders at the front of this race. Not much more than 12 seconds advantage. But another point that Robbie was making about the run-in towards a finish, at the end of a race like this, there's a lot of guys who would be just happy to get to the end of the stage, and they can sit up. And if you get caught out behind some bloke who sits up in front of you, sometimes there's nothing you can do.
Now, when you're going 60+ kilometres an hour, it's very difficult to close those gaps down as we're coming in to the final 2 laps of this race.
Just the length of Wyatt Street separating the bunch from the break. They'll be caught soon. Orica Greenedge, Luke Durbridge, the man driving at the front. Gerrans rides in 4th place now. Cadel Evans has taken a little bit of a place further back down the peloton. We haven't seen anything of Diego Ulissi, and he is the sprinter as well. He could still win this stage.
Well, the idea for a guy like him is just to sit in the pack, let everybody else work out their strategy of the day, and if the chance presents itself, to come out of the pack down towards the end. He's a great rider. I think a rider for the future, just 24 years of age, 2 times a champion of the world. He's a kind of a guy that you cannot discount, and he will look for a mistake to be made by the other riders.
I think that's what Cadel, Ulissi, Richie have to look out for. Their only real last-ditch chance to take this race off Simon Gerrans is that there's a mistake by Gero or by Orica Greenedge. When we look at the guys trying to win this stage, targeting it with Kittel, with Greipel, Ferrari from Lampre, Viviani, Jonathan Cantwell, Steele Von Hoff, there's so many sprinters, they're realistically never going to beat those guys in a sprint. But they want to get in front of each other and hope that a split occurs right behind them and take those seconds, and suddenly this race has been fundamentally changed.
But if Ulissi finishes 1st or 2nd, he wins the race overall, and he's not a bad sprinter.
It all goes down to that, and Robbie keeps mentioning Roberto Ferrari, who's a very good sprinter in his own right. But today, there's always the big possibility he might turn around the books, and instead of sprinting for himself, he might try and set something up for Diego Ulissi on this final stage, in these final few meters.
I think that's what he's got to do. I think the 2 teammates together, Ferrari should lead out Ulissi. These are the 2 leaders here. Still dicing with each other, but the heart's gone now because they know that the peloton is just sitting off the shoulders, and they're right on the shoulders now because it's Orica Greenedge brings the race all together on lap 16 of 18 circuits. The field, for the first time since the gun, is back all together.
Yes, and immediately that happens. It's Orica Greenedge in the first 4 positions in this main field, and the man who leads around the corner, former under-23 champion of the world in the road race, Michael Matthews, not thinking about a victory for himself this afternoon. He wants to help his team win this bike race overall.
300 meters to what will be the finishing line in a couple of laps time now, as we're coming to the end of lap number 16. The peloton all together, the bobbing figure of Michael Matthews on the front, on the right. Marcel Kittel sent his boys up on the left. Those black and white stripes look a little bit like Newcastle United football team. They are on the left of our picture. moments ago on this final stage of the Santos Tour Down Under. The peloton swept up the 2 survivors here of the breakaway, so Belkoff and Clark, the last to be caught. Bedard fell back a little bit earlier. The field are now all together as they go out onto lap number 17 of 18. As we're looking here now at the main field, I'm not too sure there, but Robin McEwen thought they just rang the bell for the last lap. Well, it's not on my calculation nor the computer. There's still 2 to go here. We'll find out what happens as they head round. 1 hour 45 has gone, Robbie, and it looks as though Orica Green Edge trying to keep their man safe.
That's exactly what they're doing, trying to line things up, keep the speed line, keep Simon Gerrans in the front. Now, Orica Green Edge are really trying to keep the speed high now and keep Simon Gerrans right at the front. Now, I hope the riders haven't been confused by that ringing bell. Maybe someone a bit enthusiastic in the crowd.
We've got all these cowbells. They can be confusing.
But
go on.
The riders know where they are. 2 laps to go. Orica Green Edge plans stay at the front, keep Gerrans out of trouble. But that's pretty much everyone's plan, and that becomes the problem.
Well, they're doing a good job now. Orica is a vastly experienced team. It dominated the opening week of the Tour de France with Simon Gerrans, and indeed Simon Gerrans' lead-out man here, Daryl Impey. They held the race lead's yellow jersey for 4 days. They also won the team time trial on that occasion. So they know what's required of them. They want to keep their man safe. The crucial thing is, once they get inside 3 kilometres to go, if there is an accident, Gerrans would still win the race. But that is not quite there yet. We're still 5 kilometres to that point. 45 kilometres now. It's going to be a high-speed race now.
Lots of morale on board the Orica Green Edge Express here. You can see they're keeping the pace nice and high. That's just to keep their man in the ochre jersey there, Simon Gerrans, right up to the front. 3 riders on the left-hand side there. You can see 27, 24, but behind them, number 21, that's Marcel Kittel. He's got himself up to the 4. Notable by their absence as Team Lotto Belisol of Andre Greipel. I think they're waiting for the final lap before they start to get their lead-out train organised into a good long line. But these are the moments when you have to fight to stay at the front. You want to have as many riders left as possible in this very fast final lap.
And the key is having your team right at the front, but not on the front just yet for the sprinters like Andre Greipel's team. It may only be coming into 1 lap to go, but 1 lap here is 4 kilometres. It's a very long way to lead the bunch. You'll also see the peloton almost race for certain sections of this circuit. And I think on the last lap, as they come up Flinders Street towards Watt Street, you've got a number of corners the bunch will really string out, and that's where the teams will want to hit the front, and that's where they will stay then.
Well, Orica Green Edge, as far as they're concerned, they're racing for that little rule that Robbie McEwen was talking about just a little earlier, that 3 kilometre to go point, because if there is an accident after the 3 kilometre to go banner, everybody who is delayed by that accident will be given the same time as the winner, and they will start to feel that, yep, now they've got it into the bag. After a week of racing, they came here to try and win this race, and Simon Gerrans, when you think back, he won this race for AG2R many, many years ago. He won it 2 years ago. He's looking to write his name into a little bit of the history books here by becoming the first rider ever to win this race for the 3rd time.
Well, I know Simon Gerrans, and he won't relax until it's all over. Even if there is a crash in the bunch, and it's highly likely on a city circuit that there could be, Simon Gerrans knows that anything could happen at any time, even just in front or right behind him. He's got to go all the way to the line and keep an eye firmly on his rivals.
Simon Clark setting the pace at the front at the moment, and right behind him, Michael Matthews, both teammates of Simon Gerrans. A little bit of a rush coming forward now as they're trying to reposition here and bring Marcel Kittel up towards the front. He's number 21. And getting himself, and look at Cadel Evans moving up as well as he follows Danilo Weiss up towards the head of the race. Cadel is planning something here. He is moving himself right up to the back wheel of Simon Gerrans.
He wants to keep up to the front, out of danger, but all the sprinters are starting to queue up now. I just noticed Elia Viviani, the rider from Cannondale, looking for a good place to be. This is dangerous moments now. Richie Port is over on the left-hand side in the black jersey. These are the moments when the guys who are trying to win the race overall are taking risks, but the teams of the sprinters are also not wanting to touch their brakes. They're trying to move to the front. They're trying to not lose any positions in these corners. This is the moment when it starts to get just that little bit grippy and a little bit more dangerous dangerous. Risks have to be taken to win the stage.
The fourth rider, sorry Rob, the fourth rider in line is the ochre jersey of Simon Gerrans, and he's being crowded out a little bit now because it looks like Bernie Eisler of Team Sky's leaning on him there.
And there's a lot of pushing and shoving. People often ask about the dangers of doing the sprint, that final 200 metres. It's not that point. It's from this moment on, the most dangerous for all the riders is between about 5 and 1 kilometre to go before things really line out. A lot of manoeuvring. You see Cannondale now coming to the front, taking on the giant Shimano team. See Orica Greenedge trying to hold position. Evans, Port, Gerrans trying to stay at the front, and all the sprinters getting up there. This is the most dangerous moment of the race for everybody.
Lap 18, we go out on the final lap of the 16th year of the Santos Tour Down Under. The sprinters want to take it, but people like Gerrans, Cadel Evans, Richie Porte and Diego Ulissi want to win the whole race. And the boys with the purple tops to the shoulders are the teammates of Diego Ulissi. We're into the last 4.7 kilometres of the race. 2.5 miles to the finish, Robbie. Where would you be as a sprinter at this moment?
At the moment, I'll be trying to really get to the front and stay out of the wind. As we see an almost crash there by Daryl Impey. He's blown the front wheel out, came into contact with the back of the bike of Adam Hansen. They're bringing Andre Greipel towards the front. There was a touch of wheels. Impey has been washed away with that broken front wheel. He's going to have to get a replacement. He's out of this race. One less man for Gerrans to rely on.
Exactly, and he's the most important man for Gerrans. He's always guided Gerrans to the finish line.
They've got to go straight to plan B. They know if they lose someone else has got to do that job. Impey's still trying to nurse that wheel around these corners. If he's broken a spoke, has any sort of damage, these harsh corners will really find him out, and that's what could cause a crash.
Well, look at it. 31 is Andre Greipel, the black jersey there. I'm looking for 21. Didn't catch him in the blur of numbers there, but he's very close to Greipel. And it looks as though Trek are also getting a little grip here. They've got two boys called Van Poppel here, brothers who are very rapid finishers. They're working on the front.
We have Trek, Cannondale, Trek, and then the line, the Lotto team. Have a look at them there. The red jerseys in the middle, Andre Greipel firmly on the back. This is where the elbows start to come out. It's shoulder to shoulder. This is the part I loved, Phil. This is what it's all about. You've got to get yourself in position. You don't do it now. That's it. You're gone.
Robbie McEwen struck more than 200 times in his sprinting career. An incredible bike rider he was, and up for the fight. Now, watch out also for a mauve jersey, because Diego Ulissi could try and steal this right on the line. He would be number 161 if you spot him. They're all trying to move each other up now. Where Gerrans goes up to stay safe. There's the man the camera's on, number 31, Greipel. Still a little bit of work to do on this circuit for Greipel.
It's so hard to maintain position. It's like a big washing machine as you come up towards these corners. Everybody's racing to get to the corner. Greipel's been put a little bit far back, but managed to muscle his way back to the front. And now it's Quick Step, Mark Renshaw, and his hot tip is Andy Fenn, his teammate.
Wow, and Fenn can sprint too if he hits it right. He's a big man. He's an Englishman on the team of Amiga Pharma Quick Step. I take my hats off to Gerrans because he's staying safe in those first 6 riders. He's having to fight to stay safe, but he's staying safe. And once he's inside 3 kilometres to go, he would get the time of all the riders if he fell, but he wouldn't get the bonuses. So if the 3 rivals got bonuses, they would count.
They would count, as we see the field really starting to split. Right in the background, their riders have been dropped as the pace has gone up, and each time they come out of these corners, it's going to get harder and harder. More guys will drop. Amiga Pharma Quick Step with 3 riders, but still over 2 kilometres to go. This is that last technical section as they come towards the Bike Expo Park.
Renshaw's in second here, Andy Fenn is in third. So you're right, that's the lead-out order for Amiga Pharma Quick Step. Lotto looking over the shoulders here. Where's our man in the white jersey, champion of Germany, Greipel? They're trying to keep him in a position to win this race.
Right behind the Quick Step team, I see Matt Heyman with Simon Gerrans, Matt Goss. Lining up behind them is the team of Lotto. A French rider trying to get in between from FDJ, and nearly another accident there.
They've got to be inch perfect now as they take these corners. A little bit of apology, I think, there from the Française de Jeux rider for going off his line around that bend. They're round the back doubles now outside the Hilton Hotel, the bottom end of the circuit. They're looking now to line themselves up on Flinders Street. Then they'll make a left and a right. Then they'll see the finish banner.
I'm watching this battle for Andre Greipel's wheel. I see Cantwell, I see Caleb Ewan, Elia Viviani trying to push his way in there in front of Guarnieri from Astana. Steele Van Hoff on the other side. Caleb Ewan a little bit out in the wind now, getting a free ride from one one of the quick-step riders, and here comes Giant Shimano. Where is Marcel Kittel?
1.5 kilometres to go to the finish. The rocking and rolling there as they start to move their men up towards the front. Geraint is in the middle and safe. Lotto are trying to move on the left of our picture here. Greipel is there. Caleb Ewan also trying to break in.
Now we see Marcel Seeberg from the Lotto, the tall German. He's pulled out to the right-hand side of the road, got them organised. He's starting to line things out. Lotto have got it on rails once again. Kittel is in the background. He's gone.
Kittel is even behind Simon Geraint in that ochre jersey, but Greipel's in the right place. The man we always call affectionately the Gorilla, with 15 stage wins in this race, is locked into third place.
De Buschere, Roelands, Greipel, Renshaw, Fenn.
Well, Renshaw and Fenn could be the challenge here. Greipel, his team are racing for the line so strongly. Greipel is having a job. He's now going to try and hold on to Jürgen Roelands. Roelands, who led him to the line in Victor Harbour and even hung on for second himself. Jürgen Roelands now is going, but on the left, it's Fenn on the left of our road here. As they come up towards the line, this is going to be very... Greipel is coming clear. Greipel wins. Win number 16 is second of the week. Mark Renshaw it was who got second. Fenn was third. And looking over the line, Koen de Kort, a terrific fourth place for the Dutchman who lives in St Kilda in Melbourne. What a result. And you'd have loved to have been in that sprint, Robbie.
Oh, that was just fantastic to watch. The way the Lotto team lined it up for Andre Greipel, line him up and knock him down. It's like clockwork watching these guys. They're so controlled, so smooth. They take him to where he's got to be. And when he opens it up, he puts on the gas. He just rides him out of the wheel. There was no answer to his power. There's Simon Gerrans right at the front. He's looking pretty happy. All the teammates around him. I didn't notice any splits or any crashes. The general classification will stay as it was.
The most of the field got left behind in that last kilometre, but not the men that mattered. They were right there. Take us through the sprint, Robbie.
So here we see coming under the kilometre, the Lotto train gets on the rails. Renshaw straight out into it. See, he just put shoulder to shoulder, makes Andre Greipel go around the long way. I don't know how the other guys missed Greipel's wheel, but Renshaw, he slotted straight in there. His dilemma now, he was going to ride for Andy Fenn, but he's been put himself in prime position on Andre Greipel's wheel, and was a very good chance at coming off it. He chose to go a little bit early. You see him just laying off by just a couple of lengths off Greipel, really starting to size him up, take aim. But the Lotto train, look at that. They're into the last corner, 300 metres to go, and the lead out is only just starting now. Jürgen Roelands, look at the power of this man. Second the other day in Victor Harbour. He pulls the sprint. He's got from fifth onwards in a huge amount of trouble. Greipel relaxed, looking behind. He's waiting, looking at the shadows, and as they get to him, he just opens it up. He clicks down another gear. Look at him power away. Mark Renshaw, he already knows he's finishing second. A great ride nonetheless, but Andre Greipel, 16 stage wins in the Tour Down Under.
2 wins at this week. He got 3 wins last year. He must be slowing down, but boy, can he deliver. He reads it so right. But Jürgen Roelands is proving to be a tremendous lead-out man.
I tell you, I rode with Jürgen Roelands at the Lotto team, and he provided a number of lead-outs for me back in the day when he was a very young rider. He's got better, he's gotten stronger. He pulls off from the lead-out. He's created such a gap. He still rolled across in about 5th.
And there's Greipel coming over the line. I make that his 115th victory of his career, which began back in 2005, and his 15th of the Santos Tour Down Under over the 16 years. There's the melee down there. Let us not forget in all of this that the winner of is Simon Gerrans, and Paul Sherwin is with him right now. Paul.
Well, Simon, going into the final day with a 1 second advantage, it's not the biggest advantage in the world. It must have been a pretty nervous day.
Yeah, it was a pretty nervous day. The race was still there to be won for a number of riders. So, yeah, we made sure we stayed up the front, stayed out of trouble, and I'm really thrilled to get through it unscathed.
The guys did a pretty good job over the last few laps, but it was pretty nerve-wracking and pretty dangerous too, to stay at the front, to stay out of danger.
The guys did a fantastic job, not just a pretty good job. They kept me right up the front there, out of trouble, well protected to make sure I avoided any splits in the peloton, and I finished right up there in the front, so it worked out beautifully.
Have you had a chance to think about the fact that this is a little bit of history, the 3rd victory, the first man ever on Australia Day? You've won on Australia Day in the past, but must be quite special today.
Oh, this is a huge honour to win the Tour Down Under and to cap it all off, being on Australia Day as well, and racing for an Australian team. It just doesn't get much better.
It doesn't get much better. Well done and great job by the team.
Thank you very much.
Yes, he is a remarkable rider, isn't he? He works very hard for what he gets. So let's have a look first of all at the stage result. Greipel gets the sprint win, all given the same time. Renshaw trying to lead out Fenn, finished it off himself in second place. Koen de Koort, his best result, in fourth. Jonathan Cantwell up for Drapac in fifth, and Matthew Goss in sixth place. Sprinters all, those riders. As we can now see, Andre Greipel is there. And Paul, I hope he's calmed down and he doesn't bite you, but the gorilla rode well today.
Well, thanks, Phil. I'm with Andre Greipel, who's getting a little bit of liquid on board here. Andre, we were talking to Robbie McEwen, and he said when it comes down to the end, it's a question of who's got the best lead-out train, and your guys were perfect.
Yeah, chapeau, I would say. When Marcel Siebeck went, it was incredibly fast. He just passed everyone, and then I just needed to stay on the wheels, and the guys rode awesome again, and yeah, I could save myself for the last 200 meters, and I think another good victory for us. Nice team spirit we have. So much fun to race with the guys, and also for myself, I'm confident, and I have fast legs, and looking forward for the next races.
It was a little bit grippy around there, trying to stay up at the front. Was that the advantage of having a stronger team? And the team waited until really the last minute before they really got organized on the front.
Yeah, it was really hard with all the corners to stay together, but with 2Ks to go, we were together, and everybody knew when we're gonna start. We had a really nice plan before the race, and we stick to it, and I think it was again a nice horsepower in our team.
And as you said before the race, you said that we've got a plan, but what about this new circuit around here? It's great to see downtown Adelaide, but it seemed like a very fast circuit.
Yeah, definitely. It was a really fast circuit. It was always a bit wind. The wind came from every side, and yeah, but once you could adjust a little bit to it, and yeah, then we made up a plan during the race again. So I think it worked out. We have good experience in the team, and so everybody can trust each other.
And once again, a very good visit to South Australia for Andre Greipel.
Yeah, I was really happy again, and yeah, I just enjoyed to come here.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Well done.
Yes, over the years, he really has enjoyed his visits to South Australia. 16 stage wins. This man has won this race overall now 3 times. Simon Gerrans, after almost 20 hours in the saddle. Cadel Evans, 5 seconds back with Ulysses, so the race must have split, Robbie. The 2 boys losing ground there. Richie Port in 4th place, but no change in the end in the overall situation. Nathan Haas 5th. Robert Gessing and Daryl Impey in the 7th. So although he may have lost a spoke in that sprint, he finished in that group. Interesting situation there nonetheless. So the race has been a tremendous race for 6 days. We've charged around South Australia. In the end, a familiar finish as Andre Greipel hit the line first to get his 2nd victory this week, his 16th in history. And Greipel now will feel his journey to South Australia yet again